Hello everyone, and welcome to this in-depth look at what we will from this point on consider to be the best game of all time. Like, seriously, we have not seen anything like this in any Zelda game, or really any game in general. But let's cut out the talking and get right over to the digging.
The trailer doesn't waste any time, and instead offers an emotional entry of a SHEIKAH, dropping a tear to symbolize the tragedy that has or is about to meet the once proud and prosperous land. And then from this tear, as we go down, it falls down, and we see trees grow out of it. We get sort of a symbol of hope, symbol of life. Now moving on to the next scene, these trees that we saw grow from the tear, they, turn into these trees, and we're going through, and it shows us the changing seasons here. This is a very small but very sort of efficient demonstration of the presence of changing seasons in the game. And in these scenes you can also see some wildlife. You see there's like what looks like a deer over here. Now if the seasons are changing this way, then there's probably going to be a lot of day-night stuff as well. Maybe new creatures come out at night. What's it going to mean? I guess we'll get more details later on. Now moving to the next scene, we're back at the burlap sack or the scroll, and this is kind of a big mystery here. Is this supposed to be Hylians or a different intelligent race? Because we see them, they're chopping over here, they're doing some work, they've tamed animals obviously. Is this Hylians? Is this supposed to represent someone else? That's a good question. Now these scrolls are likely a reference to the civilization that ruled the land prior to the event that put everything in ruin. Here we see our first non-plateau NPC. This is a well-built gentleman holding a spear, and he's walking across a bridge on his way from Twin Peak, which is this split mountain here. This is called Twin Peak, and he's walking from this, we assume. On his right, our left, you see there's a deactivated guardian, which implies that this scene is taking place, during the game. It's not a flashback or a flash forward.
It appears that the spear was just the beginning, as we next see two heavily equipped soldiers, or travelers armed with swords and shields. One of them looks remarkably similar to Link, while the other looks like an older but at the same time skilled warrior. Both of them are duking out against the tougher dark blue skinned bokoblins next to an abandoned ruin. But just to make it clear, what purpose will these giant backpacks serve in the game? Will they be an expansion to the small pouches Link wears?
Now in this next scene here, this is our first time we get confirmation that there's civilization, actual, not just people wandering around, but actual civilization. We see these people, they appear to be dressed in old sort of Eastern style, maybe Japanese, maybe Chinese based dress. This looks like a marketplace or a bazaar of some kind. This interesting detail is followed by the great reveal. Now for the first time in a Zelda game, we see other NPCs riding horses outside of cutscene or a special event in the game. This appears to be just NPCs living their life, and you see there's dogs and stuff. So what does this mean? I mean, the tease is definitely here.
We see another old scroll, but this time it depicts what we believe to be Hyrule Castle 100 years prior. The most likely hint here is the presence of a tall castle-like structure behind different monumental structures, a callback to greater and more prosperous times. In that moment, we are pulled back to reality and a village resembling the same rural function attributed to Kakariko village in the past. Hidden within a mountainous valley and surrounded by a gorgeous waterfall makes it into one of the most charming and exciting settlements that we have ever seen in the Zelda series. This next flyover shows a lot, from everyone's fuel of Nightmare the Cuckoo, simple wooden houses, a watermill, villagers' laundry, or wait, that isn't laundry, but wooden decorations and crops being harvested next to their homes due to the evil lurking outside the settlement.
But why does the house at the bottom of this village look so different from many of the other primitive structures? Could it belong to the village mayor, just like it was the case in Twilight Princess? And more interestingly, it does resemble the houses or perhaps the town halls seen in the previous scroll. Could it be that instead of representing one settlement, it is a representation of the main building in each one of them? Hyrule Castle naturally being the capital, and the other town or village halls being the provincial centers of Hyrule. More on this in a separate video with Zeltic in a few days. We are moving away from the village and mark a departure from the safe haven that the Hylians have managed to create to the grim reality. For the first time we see Link with the Master Sword but without the SHEIKAH SLATE.
So this gives us one of two options. Either it takes place at a later stage in the game in present time, just like the E3 trailer and the demo, after Link has pulled the Master Sword and somehow brought it back to its lethal state as the Blade of Evil's Bane. Or this might even take place 100 years prior due to the general preserved state of the sword, Hyrule, and its architecture. And also, HMK caught this prior to us, but Link doesn't even have his SHEIKAH slate on his hip in this scene. Could this be a hint of time travel and once again a dual worlds division inside Breath of the Wild, where, for example, just like in Ocarina of Time, Hyrule in the past is prosperous and strong light world, as seen in this trailer and the first E3 2014 reveal trailer, while the present time is a representation of like the dark world, apocalyptic wasteland, as we saw in the E3 2016 trailer and the demo at the Great Plateau.
Another suggestion is the encounter with what appears to be an ancient bird race bearing pride in technology and combat skills, as seen by the bow on its back. This partially clothed, dark blue bird, Lothwing, Rito, or other race fittingly flies up to a giant mechanical hovercraft based on SHEIKAH technology in the shape of a bird. Or perhaps this isn't SHEIKAH technology, but an ancient bird technology similar to the Uka and the city in the sky seen in Twilight Princess. Is this highly advanced race the descendant of the Lothwing, the evolved form of the Zora or Rito tribes? Or is it attached to the mysterious and odd bird-like race that were depicted on the walls and pillars of Twilight Princess HD's castle town, and more importantly, Temple of Time in the past? It looks like that might be the case, and more importantly, are they an ally or a foe, or something in between?
The color of the engines of the giant mechanical bird is covered in the same type of red illumination found on the activated Guardians. Moreover, they appear to bear similarity to the floating island we saw back during the E3 trailer. Is this the floating island? Based on the propellers visible in this brief scene, it appears that this might be the case. Speaking about Calamity Ganon, in the next scene we see what most likely represents him during the assault on Hyrule Castle.
Now this scroll shows the Guardians' attack on Hyrule Castle, or perhaps the defense could be a defense, could be an attack. Now immediately after this, we see Link, he's being chased by not one, but two Guardians. Here, you can see over here, he's escaping one, and there's two of them right over here, okay? This whole area, if you look at it, you got the mountain over here, and the way it's laid out, if you go back, I mean, this kind of looks like Lon Lon Ranch in a way, so maybe this is the ruins of the once great and illustrious Lon Lon Ranch. Another important story cutscene. The female character is holding what appears to be a SHEIKAH slate, has long golden blonde hair, wears blue, and has a pouch very similar to the one that Link has. Perhaps could this 2-second footage be an illustration of the female voice, or maybe even Zelda, who has her own SHEIKAH slate? Perhaps she's more than just a damsel in distress in this game, as we know what power the slate holds. This is where things get serious. We see the great energy and evil streaming from Calamity Ganon, and the corruption it has brought upon Hyrule Castle. And then on the entire land of Hyrule, leaving the land in complete and utter ruin, a wasteland. Is this scene the actual depiction of the apocalyptic event 100 years ago, or is this just clever editing from Nintendo to give an impression of it?
And yes, you are not seeing wrong. These buildings have the same type of half-timber, half-brick based architecture as seen in Twilight Princess's castle town, which is basically confirmed when we see the fountain present in Twilight Princess's market square. But unlike the royal crest seen in Twilight Princess, the fountain is decorated with wing crests similar to those found at the Great Plateau. These sizes and shapes fit. The same goes with the crest depicted on the ruined fountain, and, let us just say, this scene looks like it's taken right out of the Fallout series following the impact of a nuclear warhead. There is a special aura surrounding Link, as we both know the SHEIKAH orbs with the wing crest and the statues of goddess Hylia stream a similar flow of energy that naturally doesn't come by itself. It appears that the SHEIKAH, or ancient site, serves as a place of empowerment.
Now this last main scene here, this is the most sort of important, because you see Link, he's got the Master Sword, he's bowing down in respect to someone, and this person over here, now this person is dressed in the same type of blue with similar, golden encrustings and all that. So could this be Princess Zelda? Could this be the goddess? It depends on exactly when the game is set, and is it going to be based on time travel or not. Now, the golden decorations and rings worn by this, we assume, woman over here, it kind of speaks to how divine and prominent she is. But interestingly enough, just like the previous female, this woman is also well covered in blue. So it seems that everyone in this entire world who's important wears blue.
In our opinion, this trailer was probably crafted even better than the first trailer, as it left much more questions than answers, especially in its second half. It definitely fulfilled its mission of giving us a taste of the deep, diverse and incredibly rich land that we hopefully will learn more about during the Nintendo Switch presentation in January. But for now, also check out our analysis on the new gameplay footage and how it radically differs from past Zelda conventions.